So I'm Alex Lovejoy. I'm in Colorado with Lori, and I'm actually a QHHT practitioner, which is the quantum hypnosis healing technique, which is past life regression, as well as future life and coming, when a person is coming into this life, they're counseled beforehand. So that's very exciting stuff. And then I also do PTSD work and brain integration. So all going into the subconscious and the greater conscious. And I've been doing that for about 13 years.
Yay, you.
Ah, exciting. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. How can you not?
Oh, it's just so inspirational. Every person is different and unique, and just seeing them transform into, who they really are is probably the most beautiful gift to experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we should talk about how we met, right?
Oh, yeah, it was over food.
It's probably the best way to meet.
Yeah, it was a spiritual breakfast, a group that you had organized and were leading. And I happened to have that morning off, and I said, yeah, I want to be with some peeps. I want to feel part of community.
Yeah, and so then we've continued it with the deep dive, which we meet monthly, and we, as a group, will pick questions and we will meditate on the questions and then share all of our different perspectives, which oftentimes weave together, which is profound. And then there can be other messages that come through for the group, which is just, you know, little tingly experience. It's very exciting. And
Yeah.
so I called you, Lori, to check in because we're about to do our deep dive this weekend. And I said, hey, what have you been noticing this month with your clients? What I've noticed is I've been noticing the eclipse are very strong, and people have been having a lot of spiritual people and regular folks have been experiencing a hard time grounding. And they've been saying those words. I am having a hard time grounding. I have probably heard it over 12 to 15 times in the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So my first question to you, what do you think about that? Have you noticed that? What do you think about it?
Yeah. Well, the thing about the times that we're in is I'm not surprised people aren't just floating up a bit, because this energy is about our spiritual rising, our spiritual levels rising. And so, and some of that, when I think of spiritual, it's not about the body.
Mm.
Sometimes, it's about that expansive part of us, and all the way up through the galaxy, through the universe. So in that context, I'm not surprised people are not feeling grounded.
Right. And then you have the solar flares, the last two, like solar storms or solar flares in the last month have been the most intense since, I don't know, like 20 years ago, and then like another 30 years beyond that. So we are experiencing unprecedented levels of high frequency coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend not having stimulants, honestly. Like,
Oh,
be
mhm.
careful of coffee and things that are going to vibrate you out of your body, because that's part of the problem. It's like, what are you, putting in yourself that's not sustainable for what's going on right now? I mean, it's not supporting you. So energy drinks, sugar, caffeine, anything that you might even be allergic to that stimulates you or gives you that buzz, or the shakes or anything like that. Oh, try to taper it down. I mean, it takes like 9 weeks or so to just get off of it, because where we're going and what we're experiencing, if we really want to experience it fully integrated in our body, it's having more grounding foods like potatoes or root foods and things like that. Um, uh, that's beneficial. Or even meat and is grounding.
Absolutely. How
Mhm.
about, see, now this is another question that I have for you.
Okay, go for it, because we can keep on layering them up, which
I know.
I
Well,
can
I mean,
talk
the
for
interest,
6 days. 7 days is, it's rest.
well, the whole thing with the grounding, I've been doing qigong. I've been
Oh,
doing like some
beautiful.
very gentle qigong movements and being out in nature, walking in nature, walking in that harmonized energy of the forest,
Yeah.
Um, but people have also been talking about grounding mats. Have you looked into that at all?
I am familiar with them, and I would actually get one. If people don't understand or don't feel like they have the time to concentrate on walking through the forest or hugging a tree and doing those things, then it's so efficient
Mm,
because it happens while you're sleeping or resting or sitting.
that's a good point.
I'm going to just say take the nature if you can, but if not, a grounding mat. And make sure it's from a reputable company.
That's a good point. Something that you could even muscle test for it, or do pendulum, check it out.
Yeah.
I loved your way of kind of revisiting this needing to ground, have to ground, right? Like people are very comfortable with their current experience of self, right? But we have been thrown into the shower of intense high frequency energy, vibrating very unfamiliarly, unfamiliar. I'll just make up that word, with ourselves, the way our body usually feels.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, how do people dance with that different energy or the new energy?
Yeah, it's interesting because as you were talking about that, I could see some people even having heart palpitations.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. And anxiety ridden things coming up because it's like, what the fuck is going, excuse me. But really, what's going
that's
on?
a legit question. I mean, people are like, I cannot find the me that I'm used to,
Yeah.
connecting in energetically, right? So what the fudge, right?
Yeah, there you go. Let me just kind of sink into this a little bit because the heart palpitation came up really strong for some, where that anxiety ridden. I'm just wanting to make people aware of when those times come up, please stop and really pay attention to your breath,
Mm,
because that is such a here and now moment that it's not about trying to figure something out. It's just trying to be in it, be with the breath. For some people, they might have to sit down even and put their feet on the ground and like really just be and allow that, because I'm also seeing where it can feel like, are they going to pass out?
mm.
Are they going to be okay? And everyone's going to be different. Some people are going to ride right through this. It's like, it's about time. This feels great. And I'm kind of like that right now. Yesterday was like, oh, it's May Day and all this energy.
It was kind of funky for Jed and I. Like there were moments where he literally started going like, wait, I'm getting a little dizzy here.
Yeah.
And I got up, I was in the van and I was listing to the side. I'm like, what is going on? Like I'm literally like, this is true north. But it's not true north. Why is my balance suddenly, my balance is never off? And so yeah, it's definitely important to notice those
You mentioned dancing, and I do believe that that helps move the energy through and ground it. And also it allows any emotions that need to be like that are especially the anxiety to be kind of shaking off like a dog. You know what I mean? How dogs shake things off and then they can go on their way.
yeah,
And
move it out. Like do the
yeah,
movement.
yeah, move it out, move it out. here's one of my stones. It doesn't have to be this.
Mhm.
It could be anything. I have even given this to some of my clients to sleep with it.
Oh,
But for people to find things like this so they can be in the world and have a stone in their pocket, it doesn't take long to have it do its thing and be grounded. I also have, I'm going to show it. I didn't think I was going to go there.
oh, well, you go there.
But
Oh
I have this at my feet,
my gosh.
and I don't have it there all the time. Where are we being polarized in this energy?
Mhm.
And so this selenite, you don't need this big of a piece. Sometimes I'll start with my head and then run it down my body.
Oh, wow, beautiful.
It's quite effective.
Yeah, I will do that with the sun, actually. I use the sun a lot to clear my space. I'll just be in the sunbeam.
Yep.
Even I'll like just stick one hand in while I'm driving and I'll just breathe the energy in and just have it clear my entire auric space. And I've been doing that, boy, I've definitely been doing that every day since all the energy started.
Yeah. It's great if you can get 20 minutes in a day of any sun exposure, just to get and do it without sunglasses on, really just allowing that in. Dancing and shaking things off helps integrate the old, like letting go of the old, releasing the old and bringing in the new. And that's part of the wobbly, right?
Right.
It's the, oh, there's integration and how much, where's my balance?
Where's
And
that new balance?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then the next day, who am I? And
Right. I am feeling different.
but once you integrate, you might want lighter food or not as much food. Can you imagine that? I'm ready for the 40 pounds to come off.
I'm ready too. Let's go.
Some of that weight stuff is also the balance of the energies. It's serving us.
Yeah.
So I'm just embracing the goddess.
Ooh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Love thyself.
Yeah.
So next thing I've been noticing with my clients, I have been noticing either current situation is completely reflecting very old situation that was never cleared, or they are having, or it's an old situation that's cycling back and they're having to redefine relationships. So it's boundaries,
Yep.
healthy boundaries in relationships. And it is like, whoa, I was like, wow, this is quite the theme.
Yeah. And it's a really important theme that's going on. It serves each person individually as we're going through this. So we're not carrying or taking on or bringing with us that old baggage, whether or not it's past life, this life, someone else's, your own. And the universe is serving up exactly what we need, right?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, how profound. I mean, if you do not believe in, divine consciousness, then just look at your own life, or for me, I'm also looking at the clients' lives, like, wow, that happened in childhood, and then it happened in school, and then it happened in their, and now it's in the relationship, now it's happening in their job. Like, it's just profound.
It's one of those things that it's like, okay, are you going to get it yet? Because
Yeah.
you came here to get this. Are you going to get it yet? And some of those, at least they're making the connections, right?
Yes, they are.
And having the aha moments, because you can't really change unless you're aware of some of it, because some of it, it's just this running program of, this is how I exist and this is how we interact and this is how I expect to be treated. And sometimes that is furthest from the truth of our divine expression and what we're supposed to be doing here together. Did that make
Yeah,
any sense?
it makes a lot of sense. And honestly, it's usually a certain age that it starts. Like the kid is like, well, I better play this role, and then they never like in the, so age 8, and then they never shift that role, and it's exhausting of doing too much, being the healer, the helper, yeah.
Well, and
So go ahead.
I'm just going to add to that, the people pleaser.
Yes.
I feel like the universe is like having them almost be enabled to move in some instances so they can really reflect on how did I get here and how am I going to move forward? And for some of them, it's not about getting a corporate job. It's about finding out what your passion is and finding out, so what? You're really an artist. Go and work at something that serves you to, in this 3D pay for rent sort of thing, and get your spiel going, get your gig going, or at least tap into those communities more and more and start widening your true, like expressing your true self.
Right. Right. Instead of this exhausting program, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for healthy boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to discuss any possibilities, energetic boundaries,
Well,
or
the first thing that came to mind was putting the middle finger up. Because
saying no, right?
yeah, that is very fluid to me. It's like a joke and it's serious. This is your power finger. This is the power finger energetically. You ground yourself in with this finger in martial arts and things like that.
Really?
Yes, this is your power finger. You want to ground? Just ground like this. If you want to balance on one leg, you use your power fingers into the ground. So boundaries,
Nice.
huh?
I
Try it.
said nice.
Yeah.
I
So
like it.
yeah, so that's what comes up, and it's very deep. It's deep, but I can lighten it, right?
And it's good
So
too. I mean, it's good
yeah.
too. I for sure, I mean, I haven't done to people's faces, but I have been like, my husband's seen me. I'm like, oh, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, okay, I moved that energy.
Yeah.
Now, how do I feel? Like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of like, okay.
Yeah. Sometimes people have to get to get in their power, sometimes they have to bring it from an anger spot. And a lot of people think that anger is a bad thing. Anger is such an amazing expression of moving things forward and shifting and having certain awareness and power. To me, it can be bypassed, right? If you're just walking around love and light, love and light, love and light. It's spirituality is the whole integration of all of our expression. We know how to use it appropriately, and we know how to use it for, like no, and stop, or lifting things or shifting things in a direct way, in a powerful way. I
No,
don't know.
it's good. I like to think of it as more of the primordial aspect of anger as like a fire, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I experienced
Totally.
that in Hawaii, like the volcanoes. They're this primordial, they're just pure, it's just pure energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then being there, there's no judgment. It's just being, it's flowing through, it's hopefully it's flowing through the body. It's being and flowing through the body. You know, and then in that level, the person has the energy and the motivation for whatever they need to do. And, hopefully they're aligned enough to have the softness if they have to come into communication with others about things. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the only thing of like how to not shock others, you know,
But see, I'm the opposite because I don't
are
like being
you?
forthright and shocking others, because
Mm,
sometimes people need that energy to
that's true.
they've got so much stuck in their beliefs.
Absolutely. I mean, there's like the up, being straight up,
Hmm.
outright,
Hmm.
direct.
Hmm.
Yeah, those are all super healthy.
Hmm. Yeah. But in that abusive sense, that's the direction you were going with that.
Yeah.
In that, yeah. 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 Not the bully.
Be like, you have to change, you're wrong. I am alive. I am feeling alive. Okay.
Hmm. Exactly.
Hmm.
Because part of it is it's the fire of this is who I am, and this is and like claiming yourself and calling everything out to say no, or yes, I'll take some of that. But I think you have to get to that point sometimes to feel your voice in it,
Yeah.
and sometimes it comes out as a growl.
Mhm. Or sometimes it can be very humorous and be,
Exactly.
silly faces and, "Rawr,"
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and then it's like the other person, oh, okay, you are feeling that way. And oh, then you're moving through it. Okay. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I love those expressions like how you just did that. I have a lot of clients. I said, scream in your car. This is your best therapy. Pull over if you need to, because it needs to be expressed in some way. And getting it, yes, exactly. Clear the throat chakra. Use your voice. Let the humming begin.
And you can tell, like, if they've restricted it, like
Yeah.
they start coughing or it's heavy or tight. And it's like, wow, you haven't been speaking what you need to speak,
Yeah.
and it's not serving you.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. Wow.
Woo!
Ooh, getting hot.
Where's the ice cream?
Where's that amazing ice cream?
What kind of ice cream? Coffee ice cream he had last night, huh?
It was coffee ice cream and it was cold and creamy and tasty.
Mm.
He was using it as a meditation. I had no idea.
I love that. He was in the moment.
I know. I was like, what? You were just eating ice cream. No, I didn't know you were having the ice cream meditation.
I love it. Well, and I'm just going to talk about meditation because so many people come to me and say, well, I'm meditating now. I just started meditating and I have this special space in my house. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's nice. But meditation can happen at any moment while you're driving in the car in silence. And then all of a sudden you get to the space and you're like, how did I get here? Like you were freaking meditating the whole way just by, you know,
Yes.
being in a zone, or sweeping is a meditation, doing the dishes. So walking through the forest or just walking, when you actually have the intention of just being present, that's a meditation. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I try to do that a lot on my drive down the canyon. I mean, it's a gorgeous canyon, right? And I could be like, chatter, chatter, what am I gonna do? Ding, 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 or like loud music, or I could just start taking breaths and observing the beauty, appreciating, feeling it. And I like to do sound too. I don't know if you do any sound, but
Yeah, toning and things like that. I've been doing that for a gazillion years.
it's like very quick.
Yeah, it's quick. It's just like throw it out there, and it doesn't matter what octave or anything, just whatever comes out. Sometimes it's a moan, and you're like, who is inside of me? Like, oh, like this ancient,
Right.
sometimes that ancient stuff that comes out of us, talk about profound. It's like,
Yeah. And shifting and shifting. We have the ability to shift,
yeah,
you
absolutely.
know, very simple into the moment. And then everything else, all the perspective around us shifts too.
Yep. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm happy you brought that up.
Which one?
all of it. The
Oh,
meditation is, it's also another, it can happen at any time. We just have to have that be like, okay, now I'm going to check in. And
well, listen, going to the bathroom, you have your own space.
absolutely. And
I mean,
sometimes that's good. Like if you're in an uncomfortable situation, family funeral, awful office experience, go to the bathroom. Like,
yep.
go breathe all the way to the bathroom, get present.
Mhm. And it's not about pulling out your phone. Maybe there's a message on a public bathroom wall you need to see. The universe provides in such amazing ways, but we have to put ourselves as a priority of putting ourselves in the space with intention of tending to and recognizing it's all good, right? It's good to just take a break. What's someone going to say? Where is she? Oh, she's in the bathroom.
That's okay. Like a hall pass. I love that terminology. I have a hall pass. Like
I
I
love
have,
that too. I love it.
right? Like I
Yeah.
am free to depart this weirdness, whatever the heck it is, this dysfunction.
I have a lot of friends and who are nurses or teachers who've never been able to have proper bathroom breaks
Oh my gosh.
because their schedule, it's like, oh no, I can't drink that much water. So they're programmed into not being able to release and, or take a breath. And eh, eh, there's just so many situations that I think we have that in our world, especially the Western world.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Where the Japanese has these beautiful toilets. It's more of an experience.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, expanding. I mean, essentially, all the people get clogged energetically and emotionally and physically, and then they have to go unclog at the end.
Yeah.
Versus, I know it's so good to see the other cultures and go, God, why the hell are we doing that? Why do we only have 7 days off of work in the US when the Europeans have a freaking month?
Yeah.
What would that cause? More awakening, more
Yeah.
curiosity, more inner dives.
Yeah. More inner dives for sure. And more time to have those experiences outside of their own cultures or outside of their own four walls. We've become so constricted. And even the boxes that are literally boxes that we live in, it's like I don't even envision that for myself. When I have dreams and they're all round houses.
Is it someplace in particular you go in your dreams, or is it a place you've seen before?
Um, it's like we're probably in parallel universes in this dream, and there's all curves to the architecture.
And how does it feel?
Ugh, amazing.
And nurturing.
Yeah, very nurturing. And the way that the form goes, there's more surprises or something like that. I know that's strange, but that's what.
Not at all. Not at all. I actually had I had a past life where it was kind of like Nordic, with all the light wood, like this behind me, but it was all circular. And I was tending children. Like that was my task, was to help the children. And then we went to the community building, which was also circular. And then other energies actually came in and they wouldn't take form, but they were circulating. So we were like a
Like a
circle.
spiral.
Yeah. And they were instructing us at the physical level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it was very profound. And
Yeah, I always relate to the TP, and I relate to the Kiva, and I relate to the hut, the tent, that are round, and but also underground round, and
Mm.
temples where there's no pointy stuff. Yeah. I don't know
The
how I got here, but
I don't know either, but we're going with it. Even the Adobe style, I mean
yes.
that's not necessarily round, but it's curved corners, and
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
like a natural creativity that's coming up from it. Everything is different and
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm.
I really appreciated hearing about that past life that you talked about because I could see how those other energies would come in and circle around. And that's very much in the sweat lodge like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, bringing in
Hmm.
higher wisdom.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's very profound.
Oh, I want to talk about how I was working with this lady.
Okay. We were talking about senses.
Oh yeah, tell me where we were in that conversation.
So we were talking about senses, and I was saying, yeah, a lot of my clients have a misconception that it has to be visual. They have to go through the visual sense to do a past life, to believe that they're spiritual enough, to see beings, all of that. And then like our world is so visual, like everything, the computer, da da da. And I'm like, there are other senses, there's six senses. There's also that direct knowing sense, and any of those channels can come through and give a person an inner spiritual past life experience. And then you said there's more than that many senses, and I'm like, tell me more.
I guess I should have had it up already.
No, there are no shoulds.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've been in that world since I was 16, the no should world.
And I learned no shoulds much later in life.
Really?
Oh yeah, 16 I was like, screw you all, this is just an illusion essentially. Like, you think you're a jock, you think you're, a a a geek, and everyone like in their little box, and then everyone also dressed from the same stores at the mall. And I am like, this cannot be. So I would like dress like Monday, I'd dress like a jock. Tuesday, I would dress like all the preppy wind. And Wednesday, I would dress, and I would just be like, kind of like, I'm putting it in your face.
Mm,
Why do you have to define yourself this specific way when we are so much more? I don't want to be defined like that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That was a little bit of a rebel.
I would call that the middle finger.
Oh, it was. It very much was. The feisty middle finger of a 16-year-old. And
Okay, so this is what I have. I have knowing, which is the clair cognizance, the clair empath, clairvoyant, which is the vision, clairsentient is the feeling, clairsalient is the smelling, because I can smell stuff and go, what the heck is going on with this split pea soup or whatever? Oh, and put things together for people. Tasting, even, I can taste stuff, which is clairtangent. Oh, no, clairgustient.
oh,
And clairtangent is touching. Yeah. But then I also, because I brought up to you this woman, I think she was in the Bay Area years and years ago, and we never met. I found her somewhere online, and I would have appointments with her once in a while over the phone. And in one thing, she's like, okay, I want you to go out to the cosmos. And she's like, wow, you're fast. We're all particles. My consciousness can go anywhere. And so when I have clients or even friends who say, oh, when I was a kid, there was this door in the theater at school in the UK. And I said, yeah, and outside there was this field, and then there was a river, and there was a cliff, and there was that. And they're like, how do you know that? I said, because I can just go there. I could see it, I could smell it, you know, I, I could be there. And even in my dream world, when I come back, sometimes or I have visions, I am on the ground watching stuff happen and
Right.
that back. So where does that fall in?
Right. So I think that's, sense number 900,000
I
zillion.
yeah, right. You really hit it. But that's, I mean, when people talk about quantum, I feel that I've lived there.
Hmm. Did you have like a first experience like that? Or did it feel like you were always kind of moving in and out of it when you were a kid?
In
Or
and out.
no?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, and some people call it time travel.
Yeah.
You know, I do quantum work.
Good.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it will come up. I mean, that's like the thing, it will arise in session. It's like, okay, this is going on in this life. And then it's like, because I'll be muscle testing it and I'm like, well, it's not really changing. I've done a couple balances. And then I'll say, I think this is, I'll be like, I think this is a past life. When you check into it, what images do you get? And usually they'll just like, boom, I see myself and it completely relates to a belief that is in their current life that's limiting them. And
Yeah.
they really intensely lived it or died with it or what have you, like it made it more intense, right? And so then it got carried into this life to clear up. But I think that's just it's an amazing aspect that really deepens the healing for them. Would you say that's true? Does it deepen
Absolutely.
healing?
Yeah, absolutely. And whether or not they see it or guide them into it, or I say, and then maybe they'll see it or maybe they'll sense it because, like you said, not everyone, the visual part is not as deep as some other just feeling it. Yeah. And where just me saying it can trigger them into complete release.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've had that.
Yeah.
I was we keep going back to this like being the F-bomb, but I became like a complete bitch after I hit the elevation like 6,000 on Haleakala, the mountain
Yeah.
on Maui,
Yeah. Yeah.
Maui, Hawaii.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, okay, I have every reason to be a bitch. It's like, why am I doing this Mother's Day? And I had every reason the first time. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to move through it. But then the next time we went up, I had those same feelings. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Nothing was triggered. And I'm in this emotional state. Third time
Yeah.
I went up and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, something happened to me in this physical location. And I feel very bitchy at the top of it. And then this woman, this is like maybe like a year later, and I was bringing it to a woman, and she turns to me and she goes, "You were sacrificed."
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
and and that's all I needed. It just completely shifted that energy. I was like, absolutely correct, and it let go. Just and next time I went up, all the times after that, I was fine.
So as you describe it, like every time I was there with you on your journey. So I've pictured
Uh,
all that. Yeah. And I have all these truth chills and everything, and completely understand where you're coming from. For those people who don't have our backgrounds or are just getting into their shake up and wonderment about who are they and what the hell's going on.
what the hell is that? Right?
It's like, oh, welcome to the party. It's these events and these experiences that are real. and it's okay to go through and feel crazy and have the wonderment in it and find people like us to support you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Start searching, asking for help.
yeah,
That's so good because the
yeah,
validation is very important.
yeah. Well, speaking about validation, trying to think the first time I really felt validated in my spiritual work
Hmm.
when I lived in Japan and I was working with a Tibetan shaman um, on my younger son because my older son had to have the tubes in his ears because his eardrums would burst. And so I did, so my second son had he was on the list, the doctors kept on saying, yeah, we really want to do this. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to heal him. I'm going to heal him. And I was doing candling and doing energy work. And then the shaman and we went in together and into a journey. And I'm just going to describe it if you don't mind a little
Would
bit.
love that.
Yeah. So the Tibetan shaman also had a Native American uh, um, shaman background as well. We did a drumming journey, and we're just lying on the floor in my house. And he goes, "You see that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so it was a playground. He goes, "You see the playground?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so, like, I was seeing things before he said, "Do you see it?" And I saw the Black Panther. You see that? Yes. That's your son's spirit animal. I already knew that. You know what I mean? He was just validating it.
Wow.
And then he goes, okay, we're going to go into his ears now. Let's go into which ear do you want to go into? And we have our eyes closed. We're not, it's just we're in this, right? This dimension together. And we go into his ears, and I'm seeing, as if in a cave where you have stalagmites that are hanging down. Is that stalagmites or stalactites? Anyway, whatever hangs down. And I'm walking through and I'm going, wow, look at these to myself. I'm not saying anything out loud. I don't say anything. And he says, do you see those stalactites? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, okay, here, do you see the gold paint? This is what I want you to do with them. And I saw all of it. And so that was the validation that all of the stuff that I'd been seeing, because I can walk and see these things without going into journey, without doing any changing of the, going into theta,
Right.
without perhaps because I drop into theta most of the time.
Right.
And so, and that's part of the meditation as well, is just dropping into the theta. And for those of you who don't know it, look up theta.
It's key. It's key. It's
Yeah,
brainwave. It's
yeah.
brainwave.
And so that was very validating. And I do feel that there was times in my upbringing, because my mom, she's a Scorpio. And so
Oh,
even though she was a strong Catholic and I'm a Pisces, she got where I was coming from. Like spiritually, it was just like she would say, Lori, here's a book on Chinese horoscopes. I thought you might find it interesting. So she and I were doing this little occult thing, but it was all carryover from our other lives and how we've served each other.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
powerful. Did you feel like you settled into yourself more after that experience with the shaman?
Yeah, I did. Even though I had experiences where when I went to my first Reiki class and I felt like I was kind of co-teaching it, like, well, what about this? Remember this? And then that teacher came to me for healing like within weeks of that. And then because I was just doing my own thing and saying, this is what I see, let's remove it. Oh, you got this going on. That was coming through spirit and trusting it. Just little things that I just realized, no, you don't have to go learn it from someone, but it was validating when I did. And it also helped me expand and have those relationships
Right.
and then those understandings that we could speak a language that was comparable. Yeah, that's really important.
It is. There's this being seen and that inner the inner trust, like you really trusting you.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple of those. Um, but that's almost like it's like a leveling up.
Mhm.
Like, and one of them was just doing 20 sessions of the brain integration and reviewing all of the sessions and how the people had shifted and discoveries. Like we had really profound discoveries of where things were coming from and able to clear them. And just reading all 20 of them, I settled into a new level of trust, and then, moving into muscle testing and trusting muscle testing and seeing how it helps in the journey of the person that's getting healed. Like what do they need to focus on? And it uncovers stuff that they don't tell you, right? There are people that they don't tell you everything at the beginning of the session.
Yeah, I know. I just experienced that this morning. I had a session this morning and I said right off, it's health. And do you have an addiction? Do you have addictions?
It doesn't
I
come up,
started naming things and 30 minutes into it, finally, yeah.
right? And they're like, how could you forget to tell me that?
Yeah.
Or like you had the most crazy accident I have ever heard about,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
didn't tell me.
Yeah. And some of that I think is interesting because um I'm wondering where in some of us where we don't haven't given that story or that experience, we forget the weight of it, or we've bypassed it in a way of, or in denial, or somewhere someone in the family or somewhere has put shame on something, or some other layers on top of it which veils it. So it
Yeah,
I find it fascinating how we all unfold.
it's true. It is an unfolding. It's a great way of putting it. I mean, and then it arises and it can be worked with and
Yeah.
but it's just amusing.
Because I really have so much innocence in me, because I'm always amazed when stuff comes through me and it's so right on, and wow, that's how did that happen? So people who are coming and awakening at this time, getting off the label, carousel, so to speak,
That's good.
of expectations of and not good enough, and but I don't have that, so how can I know this, and how can I be this? I didn't complete college until way later. I had like 8 years of college because I kept on, well, I quit that school because I moved here, or I quit that school and then I moved to New York, and then after my third year in art school I moved to Japan, and then I moved back from Japan. I was already smart enough.
Mm.
And then just because I got my degree, and then I got that, the next month I was supposed to start a master's degree in fine art, and I did it.
Mhm.
I did it. I stepped into it, and that brought me into me exploring. I brought my whole spiritual world, like I was channeling the pieces that I was going to do. My last piece was a 10-acre site. What I'm saying is there's no framing of timing of when the soul is supposed to accomplish their mission.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
No,
I fully agree with you. Yeah. It's really good to drop the expectation,
yeah,
and um I think, the expectations and perfectionism and, just the level of people have pressure on themselves. Like, I just discovered it, so I should solve it, and it's like, okay, whoa, can we have like a discovery phase here?
what do you mean? What do you mean?
Can we just be, and this is really, I love this for clients to focus on being like the curious explorer within and
Yeah.
not having like, oh, well, I've got to, you know, move through the shit. It's like, no, let's just be curious. And you might not even need to do that if you have, if we discover all the tools that you naturally have to lift up the energy so it just slides on out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the curious explorer, instead of the judging, like, negative coach that, people sometimes be. And just once that gets out, then they're open. They're like, okay,
Mm.
where do we go to heal this? Where in the cosmos is this arising from? Is it arising from what you're saying, like the past, the addiction, the whatever substance, past life, or is the soul trying to find itself, right? Is it really curious about something and checking something out?
Yeah, and there's also points of opening up to something and knowing that it's there and sensing that it's there, while also encompassing and opening up to other things at the same time. It's like a dance within I get the resonance, the octave, it's like dancing between the octaves, like, or on the waves of the ocean, just you can kind of sink under and then come up and sink under and come up. And what's on those different levels for you to experience. And but it just doesn't have to be this focal point necessarily, because then you're missing the bigger picture. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's kind of like the mind, right? The mind space is like, okay, A to Z,
Yeah, yeah,
end.
yeah.
A to Z ends. Let's heal it. Or let's kick it out. A lot of people are like, let's kick it out. And I'm like, okay, that is part of your energy. And it could open you into a space that's profound, that you're completely shifted, right? Like where you're actually seeing this larger wave fluctuation
Right.
versus, a tiny dissonance.
Yeah, yeah.
And I hope that my hope is everyone discovers they're a multidimensional being, they're a quantum being,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
because then they're beyond the 9 to 5, the jock outfit, or the book nerd outfit. It's like they are quantum. They're in multiple dimensions
Yep.
at the time. They're in and out of multiple lives.
Oh my gosh. What a ride we just went on.
Yeah, we went on a ride. It was good. I like ending in waves. We're ending in the ocean
Yeah. Yeah,
of possibilities and of consciousness. And
absolutely. The bigness of it all and the grandness of life.
and
Yeah.
these energies are surely bringing it to us.
Yeah. Some of us will leave. For those who are sticking around, yay us.
Right? Yeah, we're excited about it. I mean, yeah, and a whole nother subject there too.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you gave me a call last night. I haven't been craving ice cream. I had but it was lovely to live through your husband.
Oh, the ice cream meditation, all the possible ways to experience meditation, just informed us of a new one, or at least me of a new one. I wish you the best for your week, for your day.
Thank you. And I so appreciate you and love being included. Yeah.
I have enjoyed getting to know you more. I mean, we don't really know each other that well, and I'm like, oh, wow.
Well,
Very
thank
fun.
you. Thank you. I tend to bring a lot of whatever that needs to be spoken, and then having the humor that comes in to break up the energy, right? Yeah. And then to lift things up.
Yeah, it's key. It shifts everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So appreciate you, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon. You take care.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye.